Hi, I'm Jeff Ludy, the owner of Houston Window Experts. We're going to make another video for you today. This one is comparing the Pella windows to the Andersen windows. I'm sure you've heard of both. So step right this way. I'm in our showroom here on 38th Street between Shepherd and Yale in Houston, Texas. We have 20 brands of windows and doors to pick from. We are so excited to be able to show you some video comparisons of different products because we get questions all the time. People say, Jeff, I had Andersen come out to my house and they spent 3 hours twisting my arm and telling me they were the best. And then they left and I had Pella come out and they spent 4 hours telling me why they're better than Andersen. And now I'm so confused. I can't even decide which brand I like, which one's better than the other. And so today I'm going to talk first about what's the same about these two brands, what makes them wonderful windows. And I sell both, by the way, right? So to me, I would just love to earn your business. To me, it doesn't really matter which brand of these windows or the other 18 I sell is on your list of windows to consider. But I want to give you some, I believe, unbiased feedback on my experiences and actually just some stats on these two window brands. So this is the Pella. This is a beautiful window. These are wood on the inside and aluminum on the outside, and that's the same thing that you're going to see on the Andersen. It's a wood inside, aluminum outside, which is common now because it helps to keep the weather, especially in Houston where we have so much rain, it keeps the weather off of the wood and it keeps the sprinklers from front of the house hitting the wood. And that way you're going to have a product that's going to last a lot longer than just a pure wood window. If you have wood windows today that are rotting, it's probably something like this that you'd be considering because you can get the beauty on the inside of wood, you can stain it, you can have a lot of wood choices, a lot of different color options, but you can still have that protection and the weatherproofing that you would want on the outside. So Pella was founded in 1925, so they are nearly a 100-year-old company. Andersen actually was founded the same year as Harley-Davidson. When was Harley-Davidson founded? Do you remember? Okay, 1903, that's correct. So a lot of great things happened in 1903. Their home office for Pella is in, guess where? Pella, Iowa, right? And Bayport, Minnesota for Andersen windows. And I'm sorry I'm blocking the Andersen. Maybe come even this way so you can kind of see some of these things side by side as I talk about them. Both great windows. The employees, 7,000 employees work at Pella as of last year, and 12,000 work for Andersen. So they're a bigger company in that regard. They also do 1.9 billion in sales at Pella each year compared to doing right about 3.5 billion for Andersen. So Andersen is a bigger company. One of the things that you'll find though when you start looking around on the web, and I'm sure both companies are great employers, but Pella has seemed to win a lot of awards for employee satisfaction. In fact, one of the things that you'll find about Pella is that their average tenure at Pella is 17 years. I mean, 17 years at a company. Now that's probably got something to do with the Midwest. I don't know where you're from. I was born in Michigan, raised in Mexico, and I've spent 35 years now in the Texas area. But you know, in the Midwest, you have a lot of these people that they get a job, they stay at a job for a very long time. And so that's what happens over here at Pella. These people have been doing this role for many, many, many years. And so they have an average of 17 years of tenure. I couldn't find much data on Andersen, but I can tell you this much, the Andersen people I've met are also very committed and they're craftsmen and they really like using their hands to make a great product. So they both come from very happy companies. I will say this, that recently a study was done about where the best places to work in America, and Pella won again. This is like twice in the last 15 years. They won again the award for the most desirable place of large corporations to work in America. So it sounds like they have really happy people. And you know, that's one of the things as a business owner that's important to me, is I want to make sure that the people who work for me actually love their job, you know, and that they get good at their job. And so that's a big plus. I like that. I think dealing with that is great. They're both family-owned companies, right? You wouldn't think at this size, at this age, that they would be still privately owned, but they actually are privately owned companies. So they have a real focus on family. And maybe that's why it explains the longevity at their plants with their employees. One of the things too that's a little bit different about these two companies is that one of them has kind of a retail outlet, the Pella store does, where they actually have a physical store you can go visit where they have their products, and they have Pella employees there who are demonstrating and selling their products, whereas Andersen does not. Andersen relies on dealers like ourselves to basically run a store and to show their products. So you are going to get some great in-depth knowledge traditionally at a Pella store. They're going to have a lot of information because they actually work and sell one brand of window. And typically in a situation where people who sell Andersen, it might be one of many brands. And unless you find somebody who actually focuses on Andersen and really learns a product and has a relationship with the tech support people, they're not going to have as much knowledge as going into a Pella store. We're the exception to that rule at Houston Window Experts. We really work hard on understanding and knowing all the different brands that we sell and their advantages. And so we're glad to compare these two for you if you ever come into our showroom so we can kind of go through some of the options and help explain that. They make all the shapes and sizes pretty much. They're identical in that regard. They can make sliding windows, casement windows that pull in, casement windows that push out, casement windows that crank out. They can do French casements, they can do French doors, they can do sliding doors, they can do trapezoids, hexagons, octagons, pentagons, trapezoids. Did I say trapezoids? I think I did. And so they have all the imaginable window ideas that you might come up with. And probably the winner in this category, though, would be Andersen. Andersen is so good about creating custom size and custom designed windows that you can actually draw it on a napkin and send it to them and say, this is what I want, and they'll create a drawing for you. And it's kind of a specialty department that they have. Pella does have some options like that with their Lifestyle series, which is more or less a very, very highly customized product that's a price point above this. But not in this particular series do they offer those kind of grid options and design ideas. They both can have these built-in blinds and built-in screens that retract so that you don't see the screen when it's not being in use. You can have blinds built in that you can also automate. Both of these are connected into the new home automation systems. They're still quite limited. It's still in its infancy, so hopefully we'll see some upgrades to that in coming times. Like, for example, with Pella, if you use their particular hardware in your home, it can integrate. With Andersen, if you use Honeywell, it'll work with Honeywell, and it works with some Yale products as well. What I'm hoping for and expecting to see very soon is the Amazon Alexa and the Google Home and other products like that. They're getting close on this. They actually are using some Z-Wave compatibility. If you don't know what that is, Google that and you'll learn a little bit about that. But there is some benefits to that, is if you have blinds in there, if you have roller shades in there, they can be motorized, they can be manually raised and lowered, or they can be done with the voice commands or an app. But what's probably the most useful thing right now is that instead of having to drill a hole in the bottom of your window to put in one of those magnet sensors for your alarm system, they actually have them integrated into the locks. It's an optional feature. It does cost a couple of $100 per window. It's not cheap. But if you don't want to see an alarm anywhere and you don't want to drill a hole, which will avoid your warranty in most cases, you can actually get an integrated lock that has the alarm built into that. So that's really cool too. So that's kind of the similarities. And now let's talk about some of the differences, because that's really what you want to get to, right? I guess one more similarity is the glass. Both of these companies are using glass made by Cardinal Glass. In the US, we have about 1,800 window makers, but we only have about 4 glass companies that actually supply those window makers. Just like car manufacturers make cars, but they don't make tires, they buy a tire, the window manufacturers also buy their glass. Cardinal is at the very top of the list for quality, for visibility, for energy efficiency, and for its lower rate of seal failure, which is common among double pane windows, that they would actually have a seal failure. So these are both great. Very strong, very well built, and they both happen to have the same energy specs on the glass itself. Now, they're going to call it different things, right? Because they don't want to tell you they're buying their glass from Cardinal. They want to call it their own glass. So, for example, they have a SunMax, I think they call it SunMax on Pella. They call it Lowy 4 on Andersen, but it's basically the same glass. Now, differences are going to come into style, hardware selections, color options, things like that. And I'll go through some of those. But one of the first things I think, and probably the most important thing to point out about the differences in these two windows, is the actual aluminum construction. On the Pella product, the frame itself is made out of extruded aluminum, whereas the sash is made out of roll-formed aluminum. So you ask, what is the difference? Extruded aluminum is thick. It's really heavy gauge. It's actually pushed out an extruder. I have a sample of it right here. This is the Andersen extruded aluminum, and I'll get you a close-up of it. But this is a really heavy gauge, thick aluminum, very strong, very difficult to bend compared to this. This is roll-formed aluminum. This is basically about the thickness of a heavy, thick can of Coke, where this is like the thickness of a yardstick, okay? And so this particular product uses extruded aluminum on the frame, the surround, but they use the roll-formed aluminum in the center. It does save money, and it allows them to make a little bit more of a contour. They can get some bends out of this that you can't get out of really stiff stuff, so they can give you some more rounded look, which gives you a little bit more of a traditional look on your profiles. But what I don't like about it is that it's easy to dent. Moisture ever gets behind it, it actually gets stuck behind there, and then it has a hard time finding its way out, where you have less chance of that with extrusion. The Andersen is fully extruded. Even the sash is extruded. The frame is extruded. And so when you have an extruded product like that on the sash, you actually have sharper, stronger corners. And when you have sharper, stronger corners, you can make better looking corners. You can make better seams. I'm going to pull out my American Express Platinum card to show you what I'm talking about. If you notice here, I can run my card over the edges of this, and it's not catching on anything. Look here. You hear that? I mean, we'll get you a close-up. You can even see a shadow right here, where this piece actually sits out further than that piece, and so it's not sitting as well there. Same thing here. See that corner? That corner? That corner? Now these up here where it's extruded, look, they actually look pretty nice. Maybe a little joint issue right there in that corner, but not too bad. But the extruded part is really durable, it's really strong, and the roll-formed aluminum part, I'm not as crazy about. Now before I go too far, and you think I'm just knocking Pella, I have Pella windows in my house. I didn't buy them and put them in there, not that I'm opposed to doing that, but they were already in the house when I got there. But I've lived with a Pella, and I've seen some of those issues that are common to them. The other thing is a little bit different. That's mainly the structural difference. It's somewhat the aesthetics. Remember I told you how this actually, with roll formed, you can get these nice edges that look real traditional. On the Andersen, you can't get those edges like that. It's hard to make a curved edge because it's an extruded product. So instead, you have a little bit more of what we call a traditional look. It's not very contemporary. It's not extreme contemporary. It's not spaceship looking, okay? But it doesn't have this traditional look like you'd see in an older home. So if that's important to you, maybe you like the roll-formed aluminum a little bit better. Also, if you notice from the outside, on the Andersen profile right here, you can see that we've got more of the color of the hardware that's behind here, that the window slides up and down on that track. You can see how this is wider here than the one on the Pella. See, it's a little bit narrower, a little less visible. Now, if you just had a white window and you had this white or ivory colored track, it probably wouldn't be noticed. But when you start getting a dark color and you have a white track here, the narrower track on the Pella does give you a little bit less of that, and therefore it looks a little bit nicer. I've also noticed too how the Pella has this water dam right here, which actually is a raised surface, okay? And under here, I don't know if you can see it, but this has a hollow space that this actually sits down over the top of that. And the weather stripping is built inside of there. So when you look at this, you don't see any weather stripping right here. You notice that, how you can't see the weather stripping? Look over here on this Andersen product, you'll notice that you actually can see the contrasting color of the weather stripping here. Why? Because it actually has the weather stripping in the front, and it comes in this color. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they actually make it in a couple of other colors, and if you got like a black window or a white window and you had a black weather stripping or a white weather stripping, you probably wouldn't even notice that. But I really do like how if you're trying to keep that same good, clean look, you're not gonna see that on the Pella. It actually disappears because it doesn't exist. Boy, there's so many similarities, but little things, right, that make one window for one person a better choice than for another. If you want to go to the inside now and look with me, the Andersen has we're talking about those jam liners. They have a nice little track right here where you see how that window operates. That's a Pella, excuse me. On the Andersen, again, it's this wider unit. If you're going with a white window, you probably don't care as much. But I think that's a better, cleaner look, in my opinion, when you look at it. Do you agree? Mention that in the comments if you do. What I notice about this lock is this very traditional. Remember I'm talking about this is a more traditional window. This is a very traditional looking lock. If you notice it opens and closes. It's a little stiff because it's got really good weather stripping. And so for a little while, you're going to feel a little bit of wear and rubbing on that. It just has a simple cam lock that turns. Now, if I wanted to tilt this window in, because this is a double hung window, which means at the top and the bottom both, if I can get it down there, the top and the bottom both do operate, okay? And they actually both do tilt in for repair reasons. I can reach behind here with my fingers and I slide that forward, and then I can actually tilt this product out. And this is how I would change out this bottom sash if it got damaged for some reason. See the weather stripping going along here, the roll formed aluminum. We'll get you a nice close-up of that as well. So that's how this window opens. Now I really like, I'm going to show you how cool it is on the Andersen. I think I just like their system better for this. I like that their window lock is flusher, right? I kind of like that sort of flush look. It's a little cleaner. Remember I told you it's more transitional, and that's a little more traditional. It's a cleaner look here. When you look from the outside, you don't see this big lock. You just see these nice flat finish hardware pieces. You turn these in like this, and then you can raise the unit up. Operates a little easier, and I think it's because they're hardware. It's a little bulkier, but it actually does a better job of assisting you with raising it. Now here's how you tilt this one. Instead of reaching back behind there, you actually press down on these little buttons and you just go a little further. You go all the way to the end. When you do that, you actually have released it. You can see the hardware mechanism moving in and out there as I adjust this handle. So this tilts in just like the other one. And as you can see, this is actually extruded aluminum. We'll get you a close-up of that. It's that heavier gauge aluminum on the sash compared to what you see on the Pella. Also, the top tilts down, and it has release mechanisms here at the top in case we ever had to replace that top sash due to some damage or for maintenance. So what do you think of that? Pretty nice? Works really good. The interiors, you're going to see that there are some comparisons when it comes to grids. And on the exterior, this is where Andersen has got the Pella beat, in my opinion. You know, you have basically wood species. You have 7 wood species with the Pella versus 10 with the Andersen. You have 27 colors with the Pella versus 57 colors with the Andersen. You actually have 11 grid combinations, if you add them all up, with the Pella, compared to 23 with the Andersen, so it's got it beat there. You have 9 internal hardware color options available, finish options, compared to 12, so there's more with the Andersen. And then the thing about the warranty, you know, which is important, right? Because if you stay in your house, you might encounter a warranty issue. The Andersen comes with a 20-year warranty, whereas the Pella comes with a lifetime warranty. Well, what's the difference? Well, we find in recent studies that most homeowners only stay in their house about 7.5 years now. So I guess in many regards, they're both truly a lifetime warranty. Now, if you did stay in your house for 50 years, then yeah, I guess the Pella would say they have a better warranty. But what I think is something I don't like about the Pella warranty is that it is not transferable. So if you actually do sell your house and leave your house in 7.5 years, the warranty doesn't go with the window. Whereas with Andersen, they give you a 20-year warranty, but it's actually what they call owner to owner, meaning that once you leave the house, the next owner comes in and buys the house, and they get to inherit your warranty. So that's nice. When you go to sell your house, if you tell the homeowner who's buying your house, hey, I have a warranty on my windows, and it's transferable, that might be an actual nice selling feature that you might be able to use in order to help sell your house. Another thing that's different about these windows as well is going to be their program when it comes to retrofit for installing windows in existing homes. Because that's where we specialize at Houston Window Experts. Even though we do sell for new construction and we do quite a bit of that for custom homes, we spend most of our time, probably 95% of our time, actually in the field with our own installers doing our installations on existing homes. So if you have an existing home, you're going to find that the Pella basically only has one option for you, and that is to buy the windows from somebody and then have someone else install them. They don't actually have a certified contractor program, at least not in all the states that I'm familiar with. And in Houston, there's actually 2 companies that are part of the certified program for Andersen. So what does that mean for you as a homeowner? What that means is that our guys have actually been certified and trained by Andersen to do this work. We are Andersen approved to install their products. Whereas with Pella, you don't have to be. Anybody can buy this window, anybody can install this window, and Pella has no clue who did it or how they did it. And so what I've seen, and this is where you need to beware, I've seen people that have bought a window and had it put in by a third party who wasn't trained on the product properly, and then there have been some issues with it later. And that's when Pella would come out and say, well, it's actually not my window that's failed, it wasn't installed properly. And at that point, you won't have any recourse. Whereas with the Andersen setup, the way we're set up with Andersen is that we're a certified contractor who's actually doing the work based on their standards, okay? And so you have some recourse there that you wouldn't normally have with some other products. Now, one last thing I want to point out, I want you to walk this way because we'll put a link in this video, but one of the products that I think is a great product for you to consider that you might want to also compare to these two I just compared is the Windsor product. It actually has some of the benefits of both, and you'll find that it's actually a very price-friendly product. So, and Windsor, by the way, is near Pella, Iowa. It's in Des Moines, Iowa, so it's like about 20 miles, 30 miles away from where Pella's made, and actually shares some of their same heritage. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Jeff Ludy. If there's anything we can do to help, if you have comments, if you'd like to subscribe, or if you're on our website, please fill out the contact form. We'd love to talk to you some more. Thank you and have a great day.